As well as being a big Doctor Who fan, I'm also a big fan of comic books and superheroes, and I'm a big fan of superhero movies. I think over the years there have been some really remarkable superhero movies which have really proven the worth of the genre.
And today I'm going to be counting down my top 10.
Superhero movies, and I think it'll be interesting to show my opinion and to hear yours. I will warn you, I'm a big Batman fan, so, bit of a spoiler, there's going to be a lot of Batman films on this list. So, if you don't like the character, then, my top 11 might not be your cup of tea. So for my honourable mention, I had a hard time picking between Iron Man and Iron Man 3. I think both of these films are great. Robert Downey Jr. gives a great performance in both of them. Different performances, he has different kind of character arcs to tackle in both those films, but he's both on top form in both of them. I think there are some fantastic action scenes, perhaps more so in Iron Man 3, but some fantastic action scenes in both some really good acting. To be honest, I probably like those films just about the same, but I had to pick one of them. So, since I've only seen Iron Man 3 once, and so my opinions may change on that film, I'm going to pick the first Iron Man. The reason why I like this film so much is, mm, whilst I think it tells a fairly decent story. I think it has a because some superhero origin movies, you know, kind of they spend 40 minutes on the origin and then tell a completely different story afterwards. But Iron Man does a good job of telling a cohesive story, which is good because not all of those have these. But really, yeah, it is down to the cast, especially Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark. He is probably one of the best actors to play a superhero, and he just every time I watch that movie, he just impresses me. Somehow he makes this guy who could easily come off unlikable. I mean, he's rich, he's a bit of a scumbag, but somehow Downey makes it so this character is likable. And that must have been really hard to do. I think Jeff Bridges, whilst Obadiah Stane might not be the most developed villain in the world, I think Jeff Bridges' performance does a lot to make that character a lot more memorable than he could have been. I like Gwyneth Paltrow in that movie, which is good because by the time of Iron Man 2, her Pepper Potts kind of gets annoying by then. She's redeemed in the Avengers, but in Iron Man 1, I really like her, and I really like Pepper and Tony's relationship. Um, there's a there's a lot of slapstick in the film, which I'm not really a big slapstick guy, but which I do find really funny. And that first act in the cave is just breathtaking, the best part of the film, and you know it puts Tony Stark in a really tough situation, which he really has to pull through. I think Iron Man is just a really solid film. I think if I'm going to say, if I had a list of solid films, Iron Man would definitely be on that list. So my next pick is Superman the movie, and what else can I say? It's the classic superhero movie. I mean, it may not be the first superhero movie, but it's certainly the one that started the chain of events which would lead to like the pantheon of superhero movies that we have today. Christopher Reeve, amazing as Superman, straight off the page. Um, you know, um, Gene Jackman, Gene Hackman. Yeah, Gene Hackman. Gene Hackman, I think, is really hilarious as Lex Luthor. He's got great comedic timing, and I think he's given some fantastic dialogue. Superman the movie is really a free act epic. You've got the first act on Krypton, then the second act which takes place in Smallville, and then the final act which is in Metropolis. And it's almost like you have three little vignette stories. I mean, they all link together seamlessly, of course. It wouldn't be a very cohesive movie otherwise. But yeah, I think if you just watch one of those acts separately, they actually, they actually come across quite well. I love Margaret Kidder as Lois Lane. Chris Reeve and Margaret Kidder, just they brought life to those characters in a way that that I don't really think it was until Henry Cavill and Amy Adams until that was somebody really got that relationship right again. The effects are brilliant for its time. Yeah, because the advertising for this film was "You'll believe a man can fly," and you definitely can. Definitely can believe that in this film. Richard Donner just has some really lively, good direction on this film, and it's just an all-time classic. It's I find it really hard to critique this film, and it's a really fun watch. I I also enjoy Superman 2 as well, but um, I think the Lester cut is filled with many flaws, which bring it down a bit, and the Donner cut is really an incomplete cut because Donner never got to film the end, a complete ending. So really, there's neither version of that film which is perfect, so I can't really include it. But I love that too, and Superman 1 and 2 are really, to be honest, 1 4-hour movie. So I would have included, if I could, I would have included those both on the same spot. But yeah, just a classic overall. Superman the movie is a classic. My number 9 pick is X-Men First Class, and continuity errors aside, I really love this film. I think it's a great period piece. It really takes the setting and just rolls with it and does really great things with it. And there's a lot of it uses it to create a lot of very intelligent metaphors about topics at the time, like the civil rights movement. And I don't know, it's just, but if you take all that away, it's still a great movie. Magneto is a character I really care about. I find his quest really compelling, and his descent to darkness is, far more interesting than the 3 movies we got, with Anakin Skywalker in the prequel trilogy. I think the cast is all round excellent, with the main focus being, on James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender as Professor X and Magneto. I think those two were fantastic actors, really brought life to those parts. And they really, I didn't think anybody could match the the might of Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen, but those two did a great job, a very serviceable job, and I can't commend them enough for that. Some of the action scenes are stunning, especially the final action scene. I thought that was brilliant. Some of the special effects are really top notch. Kevin Bacon, great as Sebastian Shaw. It's hard not to love Kevin Bacon in any film that he's in. But I really love that film. I really love him in that film. I think a few of the characters are somewhat underdeveloped. Especially in the villain department. Other than Emma Frost, Azazel, and the Whirlpool guy. I think they barely get any screen time or barely any lines of dialogue, and they're not very well developed at all. I think Darwin, is killed off way too early. But aside from all those issues, I do think this is a very, very enjoyable film, a very, very intelligent film, and just a great film overall. And Wolverine's cameo is just one of the most hilarious things I've ever seen in a superhero film. This might not be the perfect X-Men film, especially because the characters in it are mostly B-listers and C-listers. But it may not be the perfect X-Men film, but it is a great film, and I really recommend it. So my next pick is Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker. And before I start talking about this film, I really love the series Batman Beyond. I've watched all of it, and I really like the character of Terry McGinnis. But my favourite part, and I love the character, and Max. and Barbara Gordon in that show, but my favourite character in that show is old Bruce Wayne. And this movie brings back, things from Bruce Wayne's past in a big way. The Joker returns, and it creates a really great story and a really great arc, not just for Bruce Wayne, but for Terry. And this movie, I think, is kind of demonstrating that Terry McGinnis is Batman. Like, he may not be the Batman that you know, but he is Batman. And I think I don't think you can actually watch Batman Beyond without watching this film, because without this film, I don't really see the series Batman Beyond as as complete. But enough about that. Let's talk about this film. Mark Hamill, as always, superb as the Joker. Other than well, Heath Ledger's sort of a different thing, but Mark Hamill is the perfect comic book Joker. I think he's the perfect comic book Joker. He's really he can really play a wide range of Jokers. Like, he can play the more jokey kind of well, certainly not harmless, but not exactly not exactly lethal Joker in the early episodes of the animated series. But then in this, he is dark, he is creepy, he is he is just not a guy you want to mess with. And I really commend Mark Hamill, because it's one thing to be able to play one side of the Joker, but to play the many sides of him like Mark Hamill does, that's a real feat. Yeah, I really enjoy his performance in this. Kevin Conroy, as always, like I said with Mark Hamill, he can do many Bruce Waynes. From the younger Bruce Wayne you see in Phantasm, which we might see a bit later in this list, and and then here as the older Bruce Wayne, he can do many versions of the same character, and it really makes Bruce Wayne feel more like a three-dimensional character when we get to see all sides of him from the age spectrum. Will Friedle as Terry McGinnis again. Really likable character. Just overall, the cast is fantastic. I love the animation. It's sort of, well, it's the Batman Beyond style, but polished up a bit. I love the dark flashback, where you see what the Joker did to Tim. It's really dark and disturbing. When you watch it, you're like, wow, I don't understand how they even got away with this. It's just really like, sorry. Bruce Timm and his team, they were always pushing boundaries, and it always really it always really paid off, and that definitely shows here. The mystery, I think, is intriguing, and I like the resolution of the mystery. How has the Joker returned after so many years, and why isn't he like old and as decrepit as Bruce Wayne? I like the reveal of it, being Tim, because it's almost like even now, the Joker is still ruining Tim's life even after death. And yeah, if you haven't seen this movie, I've just spoiled it for you, so I'll put a spoiler tag on this bit. But if you haven't seen this movie, definitely track it down. It's fantastic. I don't think you really need to see Batman Beyond before seeing this film. It certainly makes the film better, but because this was my first exposure to Batman Beyond. But yeah, I just a great movie. One of my favourite parts is in the final fight scene between Terry and the Joker, and Terry's like, no, I'm not gonna, Bruce. I respect your tactics, but I'm not gonna do what you do. I'm not gonna take the Joker seriously. And then he just messes around with the Joker's mind and actually somewhat makes a fool of the Joker. My favourite line is when Terry goes. He's kind of like annoying Joker, and Terry goes, "What? I thought the Joker always wanted to make Batman laugh," and then Joker goes, "You're not Batman." Yeah, I love this film. It's fantastic. So my number 7 pick is X-Men 2. Another X-Men film on this list, and I think this is the best X-Men film in the series. It's just a great movie. This is a movie I grew up with, and you know, I watch it, you know, a couple times a year, if not more. I just think it's just a great movie. Bryan Singer is a director I really respect and love. I really like his work on this movie. I really like the tone of this movie. It's kind of like, it's a dark tone, and you know the film certainly tackles some dark themes, but it's not without fun. You know, it's not without, you know, we're going to tackle some serious themes here, but there is going to be almost a sense of adventure to this film. I think the villain in this film, William Stryker, played by Brian Cox, who is a fantastic actor, by the way, he is almost more compelling than Magneto, in my opinion. I just, you know, he is sort of the anti-Magneto. He despises mutants with all his heart, and you know, he's given a motivation in which, you know, whilst you can't really empathize with him, you can certainly somewhat sympathize. You know, the whole situation with his son, and such, and yeah, which is really great. You know, Stryker's a really three-dimensional villain played by a brilliant actor. I think the X-Men themselves are certainly well acted, with the exception of Halle Berry. I've never liked her as an actress, but then that's just my opinion. But yeah, all the other X-Men I think are acted brilliantly. I love Nightcrawler. He's one of my favourite X-Men characters. Yeah, I can't remember the actor's name, but yeah, I just think he's clearly enjoying it. You know, he's clearly enjoying playing this character, and that opening scene with Nightcrawler. Whoa, what a way to start a movie! I mean, compare that with the original, with X-Men's, you know, X-Men 1's opening. You know, which is, you know, very dark. You know, Auschwitz sort of things in Poland, outside the concentration camps with Magneto. It's very dark, so it's a very kind of this very moody, atmospheric tone for for that film. Which, you know, I do like that opening. But then this film, bam, you know, it's like they're like, no, this film's gonna have a complete change of pace from the last one. Don't worry, you're in for a ride. Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I think, in my opinion, Hugh Jackman gives a good performance in every X-Men movie, but it does there are better, and he does give better and worse performances throughout the films. I think in this film he gives a great performance. I think the stuff that, you know, we're given about Wolverine's background is really intriguing. I love Wolverine's decision at the end. You know, when he's like, you know, when he decides, no, you know, maybe I'll never know really what happened to me. But you know, I'm better. Maybe perhaps I'm better off not going. I've got to live on my life, which is why I kind of think X-Men Origins shouldn't really have existed. Because, you know, if Wolverine's never going to know about his past, then should we? I mean, I know obviously it's in the comics, but you know, just in the just, you know, in the film series itself. But you know, we're not talking about Origins here. But yeah, this is just one of the all-time great superhero movies. Action scenes are fantastic. I think all the mutants are well utilised except for Cyclops, and this is not going to be the first or the worst time he's you know, kicked out of a film, shafted out of a film even. You know, just wait till X-Men 3, which coincidentally didn't make this list. But yeah, with the exception of Cyclops, which is a shame because he's the leader, but with the exception of Cyclops, I think all the X-Men characters are well utilised. Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart as Magneto and Professor X, perfect. I mean, yeah, perfect, brilliant actors to play those parts. This is the X-Men movie, in my opinion, and you know, you couldn't ask for a better one. So my sixth favourite superhero movie of all time is The Dark Knight Rises. And no, I'm not going to pretend that it doesn't have flaws. Sure, it has flaws. All films have flaws. You know, there are plot holes, which I can, yeah, if plot holes, if plot holes annoy you and can ruin films for you, then I can somewhat understand why you don't like why you wouldn't like this film. But I absolutely love it. It's the Nolan trilogy is one of my all-time favorite trilogies. Film trilogies, and I think Rises is just a spectacular finale to that. It's epic. The cinematography in this film is beautiful. By Wally Pfister. It's gonna be sad to see him go because he's not going to be a Nolan cinematographer anymore after this. But anyway, yes, and some great direction by Nolan. Nolan is one of my favorites, if not my favorite director, and I always get a kick out of seeing his films because some of his direction is just beautiful. Bane, played by Tom Hardy, is one of my favourite villains in the history of film. No. Okay, maybe not my favourite, but definitely one of my favourite villains in the history of film. I love him. He's so kind of, menacing and kind of, fun, and he's got all these quips, and he's kind of witty in a really terrifying way. He's got some fantastic dialogue. I love Bane so much. When he's talking about, oh, for darkness is your ally, and all that stuff. Yeah, brilliant. I think, yeah, just brilliant. Christian Bale, I think, and you can disagree with me, but I think in this film that Christian Bale gives his best performance out of all the Batman films. He really does. He really shows how this how Bruce Wayne has really descended into darkness. He is a broken man after the events of the Dark Knight, and Christian Bale does a really good job with that. This is I think out of out of the three Nolan films, this is the film where I really care the most about Bruce Wayne. And when he's trying to climb out, that pit, when he jumps out of there, I'm like, yeah, I punch my fist up in the air. I get really happy at that moment, because I really care about Bruce Wayne. And if you're making a film, one of the most important things is certainly to make you care about your characters, especially your main protagonist. Yeah, so I really like Bruce Wayne in this film. Anne Hathaway as Catwoman. Yeah, great again. Brilliant. She's funny. She's sexy. She's smart. You care for her even though she's a thief. And a lot of people say that it was too quick. It was too quick for them to fall in love because a lot of people don't like the ending because Bruce Wayne and Selina Kyle get together. But you know what? She's so likable and so likable. I mean, how could you not fall in love with that woman? Again, the supporting cast: Michael Caine. I'll just list them: Michael Caine, Morgan Freeman. I shouldn't talk about them too much because there's two more films to come on this list. But great. I really like Joseph Gordon-Levitt as John Blake. I really like John Blake as a character. I know a lot of people don't like. A lot of fans don't like the Robin reveal, your middle name Robin. A lot of people think he should have just been called Dick Grayson, and yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, I didn't hate the reveal because the reason why I like the reveal is because if the person went, I can't remember what the job's called, but if that woman went, oh, you should use your real name, Dick Grayson, then I would have got it, but my mum certainly wouldn't have got it. But because she said Robin, and she was like, oh yeah, Robin, I know who that is. And, she would have missed out on that moment if they used the word Dick Grayson. So I'm kind of half and half on that reveal. But yeah, I like John Blake, and I think he was worthy to take up the mantle of, the mantle of Batman. The fight scenes are great. The sewer, the scene in the sewer It's one of my favourite scenes in film. Uh, do I think the Talia reveal is a bit rushed? Yes. Do I think it somewhat takes away from Bane? Yes. But it certainly doesn't ruin the film for me. I could have had that section completely taken out, personally, but it doesn't ruin the film for me. And there are plot holes. People are like, well, how did Bruce Wayne get back to Gotham? Blah 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 blah. But if you're really one of those people who just endlessly, gets infuriated over plot holes, then to be honest, I don't really think you should be watching Christopher Nolan movies. Because Christopher Nolan movies aren't really about the specifics; they're about characters and emotions and such. But if you dislike this film because of the plot holes and because of the inconsistencies and such, then yeah, I understand. But I love this film. It's brilliant. I love it. That's all I've got to say. Seeing as this is the halfway point, I think this is a good time to split up the video. But please, if you want to hear my top 5 superhero movies, please come back for part 2. Please comment in the comment section below, and please subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned.